funny, Rick, because we're looking for a good like chord, like the Wayne's World thing. We're looking for like a DorkCast. Excellent.
Here we are at episode 23 of the Construction DorkCast. In this episode, we bring in two general contractors to try to prove we're not all about the trades. Alex Belkofer and Rick Kahn joined us to talk about how GCs are viewing innovation, how their companies often jointly work together to push the industry forward, and of course we pelt them with comments and questions about working with trade partners because, well, we just can't help ourselves. Listen in as we heap praise on Rick for being an inspiration for all of us, and enjoy as we get passionate about making the lives of the people we support better. Also stay tuned at the end to hear Rick give us a musical interlude while we waited for everyone to join in.
And we're live. That's right. I believe it's episode 23. Sometimes I forget, but it's generally dorks. That's right. That's right. We've got our favorite general contractors on today because, well, you know, we can all lead a little trade focused over here on the Construction Dork. So we wanted to make sure we evened out the representation that everybody was getting their dork on in the business. So welcome to the episode. We're excited to have you. I know it's an odd day, so hoping a few of you realize that and could tune in when you could. If you can't, you're listening to us in your car, drive straight and get ready for a heck of a ride because we're going to have a whole lot of fun. I'm going to start off. I am not drinking because I am racing in 14 days. So I'm off the sauce. However, Flaviar, that's right. If you heard it, Flaviar dropped off my Rocknar, which I believe, Trent, you replied very quickly that that's kind of tasty. You've had this one before?
I was talking about the old elk, I think.
Oh, yeah, the
I've
old elk.
I've had the Rocknar. That stuff's very good. Stuff's very good. Rick,
days.
I think it's up in your neck of the woods. I think it's from Minnesota.
It is. Yeah, it's a Minnesota rye whiskey cognac cask finish from Far North Spirits. So I'll be enjoying that post race, but for now I will be, coming to you live from Sparkling Water Town. That's me for this week. Oh. Yeah, it's Kirkland. That's right. I'm cheap. By Kirkland.
Hashtag Costco.
Hashtag Costco. Hey, look, we're looking for anybody. They have a good liquor sales. By the way, Trent, that's where I got that elk rye from. Was
nice.
Yeah, it's good. You're gonna like it.
Yeah, it is. All right. Well, Trent, you're up today. Why don't you introduce what you're up to, what you're drinking, where you're coming from?
It's a beer day, so this is one of the ones in front of the face. Got to remember that I always get locally from Metazoa. They call it the Hopopotamus. I always call it the Hip Hop Anonymous, but now I've brought it back because it's the green can and it's the double dry hopped version of the OG Hip Hop Anonymous, I call it. So that's what I'm rolling with.
I have to say, as somebody that doesn't like IPAs and stuff, so they found ways to just make bad beer taste worse. Is that what they've done with the double hopping?
And idiots like me buy it over and over.
Oh man, that's awesome. All right, Trent, Travis, you're up next since you're in the line there.
I did the same thing. I went out to a local brewery. I think last time I had the llama slobber, but this is from Wishful Acres, and it's called Bach to the Future. So I thought it may be a little fitting here.
Nice.
For the DorkCast.
Nice.
It's a good German Doppelbock. So I'm looking forward to this one.
It deserves a golf clap.
That does. That's great.
That's great.
Sound like a connoisseur of beer.
Yeah. I try.
Jonathan Marsh. All right, man. I know you had to run and get a glass. What do you got?
I'm going with a single malt Isla. I'm going with Ardbeg 10, which is like it's a really nice smoky Isla, but it's not like all like over the top like Lefroy or something that's, you have to develop a taste for. You can probably just drink this. And dude, it's a Scotch day. It's such a Scotch day. and I will tell you that I didn't remember to actually eat dinner. So it's going to be a good podcast. It's just going to be a very entertaining podcast.
Johnson's going to take over the show, right?
There we go.
Absolutely.
Just make sure that you put a disclaimer out there at any point when you offer up advice at the end of the show when you've had a few too many drinks.
You don't want to hire that guy.
You never know what's going to happen. All right. Well, I after our introductions, I'm going to take a quick moment here because I have had the pleasure of both of these gentlemen that are joining us today being a huge impact on my understanding of the world. Rick, early on, we were talking about this before we came on the show. I have to say that I've known you for a decade now. That makes me an OG in this business at this point, which is very unsettling. I want to tell you, I'm not sure I'm okay with it. I'm not sure I'm going to be okay with it on this show, but hey, we'll come around. I want to introduce you first because you really did sit down with me very early on and gave me a lot of advice. Took a lot of time when you didn't have to take a lot of time with a lot of us, not just me. And it's really impacted not just our careers, but also the path and the trajectory of technology and construction in general. So welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you. It seems like we should have done it before, but timing's just right.
That's right.
Introduce yourself, Rick, and say hello to everybody listening.
My name is Rick Kahn. Like we said, I mean, Jeff and I have been friends for 10 years now, industry friends. And, I don't want to preface it by industry friends because people are people. I'm all about people. And construction is a people team sport. And I work for Mortensen Construction for the last 15 years. And I lead up our innovation program, but has spent a lot of time in BIM and VDC and all that good stuff. So now I'm focused on developing people around innovation, and it's really exciting.
It's awesome. And I think we will get into that for sure, because the progression that you've gone through, I think is something you're leading continually. And I think it's something the rest of the industry can really learn from. But I also have to introduce our other special guest who I've gotten the opportunity to meet and learn from due to Lauren Williams, who was one of the reasons we're an explicit show here, which is awesome. And one of the things she told me when she joined McCarthy very shortly afterwards was, you've got to meet Alex. He's just like you are. You two are going to be crazy together. And he's kick ass. And I have to say, he has delivered. I've done a few different AU things with him, a couple of different interviews with Alex. Alex, introduce yourself, say hello, and thanks for joining us.
Sounds good. Thanks, gang. Appreciate being on the virtual stage today with all of you, especially Rick. I'm very, very honored to be on the stage with him. Little as he may know, I first saw him speak at my first BIM forum in 2009, and he's been a big influence in my career. So just being on here with him is pretty cool today. Actually gave me a lot of inspiration to do what I do today here at McCarthy. So those of you guys that haven't met, Alex Belkofer, Virtual Design and Construction Director with McCarthy. I'm based here in our St. Louis office. Had a lot of friends over at the pond at Mortensen, so a lot of great people over there I've got a chance to know throughout my career. And a big approach that I have here, and where I have a lot of commonality with Rick and the others, is really about the people side of our industry. That's been a big passion of mine, not just doing what we do as BDC professionals, but how we do it and how we treat each other as an industry to get better. So honored and excited to be here today.
Thanks. This has been great. This is going to be fun. All right.
You're getting wound up. You guys missed it too. It'll be in the outtakes for sure. But Rick actually warmed us all up with a little bit of music before we got started. If you can't tell, man, he's coming to us from the studio. You were playing before COVID, but you've done a little extra work during COVID.
I think that was my COVID project. Great. I met someone through like Dave Burns from McCarthy on the West Coast. He's friends with this girl called named Natalie, and she sings, she plays the ukulele. She's from Hawaii, so we had some connections there. He connected us, and we started doing duets. We posted about 4 or 5 duets on my YouTube channel. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
There's a plug we can take. If you haven't checked out Rick's YouTube channel and his longboard videos, dude, you have to. DJ already jumped on there. Rick's made some great videos on his longboard. He totally has. So, Rick geeks out at work and at home. So awesome, man. Alex, what have you been doing to get through the COVID times? I mean, you've been working pretty hard, actually.
What have we been doing? I mean, we've been very blessed to be busy for sure. We've been trying to just operate honestly, guys, as normally as we can, right? You know, being safe with the protocols we have in place has allowed us to keep the doors open. So we're blessed in that regard. and just trying to, treat people with the same level of respect and courtesy as possible with the 9,000 Zoom meetings we're on every week, and still trying to build buildings and build relationships. It's been such a challenge to try and still be connected as humans. We have the saying right now at McCarthy that we believe that we are better together. We just got to be safe right now when we're trying to be better together. Be smart about respecting people's thoughts about the current situation, but also still trying to do what we do at a very high and integrated level as a builder national. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So I,
Hey,
I have to go ahead and keep heaping a little bit more praise Rick's way, because I met him about 5 years ago now at the AGC IT forum, and he's the one that planted the co-opetition seed in my brain. So we did an episode earlier. Was it earlier this year? Anyway, and last year, where we focused in on the co-opetition. Yeah. So I would be interested in hearing a little bit more from both of you on kind of the way that the GCs are approaching it, because I think that the co-opetition is one aspect, but you guys, you guys are big enough that you have whole innovation teams in. Can you juxtapose maybe the mindset that you're seeing from the trade side and in our innovation efforts and the way we're kind of going about the digital transformation as to the way you guys are seeing it from the GC side in your own companies? Not, whoever wants to go first.
Rick, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say, like, with McCarthy, we're like, we're joint ventures on a number of projects, like I think over $2 billion of work. And we've been working together since like 2010 in terms of projects. And I think that has set the stage 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So what you're seeing in McCarthy and Mortensen, is like we've kind of built our programs together in a way. And now what we're seeing is, like, innovation is not about creating stuff. It may sound, from a product company, yeah, I expect a new iPhone every year, right? Everyone does. But from a service business, we have to think about our people. How are we helping our people rethink what they're doing? It's not about improving, it's about rethinking, and that is just not, it's like, work safer, homie, work safer. I just tell you to work safer, so you got to work safer, right?
Right.
You got to be subliminal about this. You got to get into the person. Who are they? Who are the people building our buildings? Who are those people in the field? You got to understand their pain and build a program around that. Does that make sense? It may sound like,
yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah, just to chime in, I would echo exactly what Rick said, right? It's challenging the normal way of thinking. And the hardest part about what we do every day is dealing with each other as people when we're trying to think differently, and maybe somebody else may not come from the same background or mindset, and trying to convince our partners that, hey, we have a better way of doing something. Let's kind of remove the old way of thinking and try to replace it with something that can be leaner, that can be safer, that can be much more project delivery driven. And so that's the challenge, right? We don't have to necessarily create a bunch of new things. We just got to think about optimization, think about doing things, thinking about doing things smarter.
work smarter, not harder, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm curious if I can go, I guess, you guys are with some larger general contractor companies, and you've done plenty of different types of projects with a lot of subcontractors involved. I guess I'm curious to hear your input, because we talk a lot about in our space the difference between working in a plan spec environment versus working in, design assist, design build, IPD. We talk a lot about these different relationships that we have between a general contractor owner and the other team members. I'm kind of curious to hear your take on, pros and cons. What method do you prefer? Where have you seen the best success? I'd kind of really enjoy to hear your thoughts on that.
In terms of what, I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that. So our feedback or input based on what? In terms of
based on the type of project, the type of relationship that you have within the project, whether it be, are you working versus working in with your subcontractors in a plan spec environment, or in a design build, design assist, IPD, that sort of. Sorry, is my microphone busted? Or
no. I always no, it makes sense. I would say like negotiated contracts is where the majority of our relationships are. So whether it's IPD, design, build, negotiated contracts, we rarely do, a bidding process for, plan and spec. However, we have to in certain parts of the business, right? Depending if it's federal work or whatnot. But in our energy business, which is about 40% of our volume, it's all EPC. So it's engineer, procure, construct. So we have a greater control over that process.
I would agree with Rick. I would say, also the business deal, right? I mean, the negotiation part of being able to strike the right deal with a high level of collaborative partners coming in with us early is going to drive the most opportunity to be thinking differently. Don't get me wrong. I think there's still opportunities at the field level for our folks in the field, our men and women out there to be creative no matter what the deal is. I think the greatest opportunity though for collaboration and thinking differently is going to be when you have like-minded folks that are invested at the beginning to be more collaborative, to drive the schedule, to produce greater results, to potentially get shared savings on a project. But it all kind of comes back to that business deal.
Right. And I think we all agree with that model. I guess to me, I was curious where you've seen most of your work. So Rick, it sounds like that's where a lot of your work is in that environment.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. And it's similar at McCarthy. I mean, self-performed contractors. I mean, we've grown up together in that sense. I think one of the things we're seeing as a trend though, is owners are coming in, setting requirements for innovation and all these things. And
very cool.
The cooperation exists, with massive customers like, data gurus like Facebook and Google and the likes, and their facilities, their data centers. I mean, we're all cooperation. It's like we're sharing information, and it's amazing. That's how we're going to move forward, and that's being driven by our customer now. You know what I mean? And one tech company is doing it, so guess what? Every tech company is like, "Yep, we're going to do the same thing." You know what I mean? It's like that's how it works. It's
Right.
Well, that's great to hear, because I know that some of us in the areas in the country and what we're doing, we don't see that relationship with every project. So it's cool. So it sounds like you're on board with that. That's what you prefer. It's what we here at the Dorks talk about all the time. I mean, trying to get the entire team in early. So I was just kind of curious on your thoughts on that. So thank you.
You're in the Northeast, right, Trent?
I'm in Indianapolis. So
okay. Got it.
So I have a question for you too. Based on what we kind of, as trade contractors, one of the things that happened is we all realized how much more money we could make in prefab. And so when you look at us, like a lot of that drive for technology and even collaboration is very much based in, can we do prefabrication? Like if we can do prefabrication and I'm a plumber, I'm going to draw your electrical so I can do your prefabrication, or I'm going to go out of my way because that is such a profit center for us. So has that drive from sort of the subs, has that pushed you guys into technologies that you wouldn't have considered without them? And what technologies have you sort of seen driving up? Because we're told, like when we're talking to GCs, or I was told when I was talking to GCs, always try to lead up on technology. Always go into that GC and say, look at the tech stack they have, where we integrate and what they're missing or what we can work with and lead up. Have you guys had a lot of good situations where the trade contractors have come in and helped you adopt or adapt to technology? And can you tell us about some of those?
Yeah, Alex, why don't you go first? I keep hogging.
Sure. Yeah, let me go ahead and throw some things out there. The first thing I think it's really driven for us is the ability to influence the type of project delivery. I'll talk about design assist for a moment, right? Yeah. Where I'm from in Ohio, design assist is not the same as it is here in St. Louis. St. Louis is a very sophisticated trade partner market, which is super awesome. And it's not that Ohio doesn't. I have a lot of great trade partner friends there too. But design assist is more common here to get folks involved early on in helping to complete the design effort and push things like prefab and push the schedule. And so our design partners here seem to be more willing to partner with our design assist trade partners to influence the ability to finish that design at a higher level of coordination and really get us moving forward faster. It just seems to be the nature of this marketplace. So I love it because what you guys do so well at, our designers are on board with. They're okay with that. I know there used to be a time where the design community was against doing those types of things because they really wanted to truly finish the design and really get a completed set of documents out there to try and drive a tighter bidding community. But I do feel like with the sophistication of the trade market right now, there's a lot of importance, I think, to truly take the design to a further stage of completion, because getting that constructability knowledge and getting that trade partner knowledge in there to influence things like, well, have you guys thought about kitting this? Or have you thought about modularizing this? That can happen so much earlier now with the evolution of all these coordination programs, and just being able to share those ideas and be okay with it and really drive something like design assist to the next level. So for me, it's all about level development in a model-based delivery environment like we're in now, and getting like-minded people together earlier to be okay with partnering and really driving those types of things to help, influence the ability to deliver a job earlier for a client with a higher level of value.
Yeah, I think
That's cool.
Yeah,
It's good to hear.
yeah, I think in terms of that negotiated process, design assist. I mean, it's interesting because I think Alex addressed a little bit in terms of like, depending on which market you're in or which region, the level of sophistication, maybe that's not the right word because I don't want to say
That's the right word.
But the reality is we hire trade partners for their expertise. And if we go back to the last question, right, around relationships, contracts, in order for us to do prefab, industrialize, it has to be an integrated form of project delivery, right? That means when we get the project as a general contractor, and whether we're hiring the design team, we're also at the same time looking to partner with the trades, because we need you to fabricate prefab. We can't do it without you. It's one and the same. So like the process of the contract structure and the relationship really drives what you can do, right? So yes, our trade partners, if they know what kind of contract it is and they're ready to run, right? We know that. A good example, to go back to the question, it was, I would say working with McGrath or like, a company like that does enclosure systems, and we do a lot of unique enclosure systems. Obviously, same thing with McCarthy. We were just on Raider Stadium together, and they really helped us understand how to read the drawings from a detailing standpoint. Because here's the issue: we were looking at primary steel and secondary steel and how this curved enclosure was going to go on. Same thing on US Bank Stadium. It was angles instead of curved surfaces, and they were able to break it down in the model, 2D, 3D, and allowed us to drive our control points for survey layout. So it was awesome. And then we did some research with drones and LiDAR and trying to do the deviation reporting, and we were like lock in step with a lot of those. I'm actually mixing up projects, so sorry if
Sorry.
We won't call you on it.
I would add this.
Our fact checker will get back to you on
Right.
that.
No, he won't.
From my standpoint in Erie, which is a very small market, there were really only 3 types of jobs. There were design build, design assist, and design rescue. Because if it was bid to spec, you knew
Design
going
rescue.
in, you were going to get this design that needed rescued, and you weren't mad at any of the designers. It was just a matter of like, dude, you have no idea how we specifically build, so there's no way for you to get this right. And I've been really, I got to say, we had a GC that came on board with one of our projects and called me up and he said, I'd like to use the same collaboration software you're using. And he said, this is our first job with it, and it's also one of the bigger jobs that we're doing, period. And I was like, oh, that's a great place to test new technology. It's on the biggest possible job, because that's always fun, right?
Yeah, been there.
Quite literally by 25% into the project, I had never seen technology go so smoothly because the GC was behind us. And that's what I feel like you guys might underestimate how huge an impact it is to have a GC that just says, we are going this path, everybody get behind us, and we're going there. Because really a lot of times with like my little area that I was in, there's not enough GCs that are saying, I want to do it as design assist. I want to do it as integrated project delivery or design build. And so we're looking for you guys to honestly influence even more people. But what are we talked about the fact that you guys are speaking more overall as an industry. When you guys come together for conventions as GCs, how do you see technology being accepted? Do you see that people are all on board, or is GC very old school still?
That's a hard question. I think the overall take in the industry is like their current key leadership. They grew up in a time very different from now. So what we're trying to understand and translate is how different technology is and how we need to put it as part of the beginning of the conversation, right? It's like, you remember when we were the VDC folks and you were like, we got to do this BIM protocol plan. And, it was like the last priority in the job. You know what I mean? It was like, we'll get to you guys. It's like we like changing that up. And that's what technology has kind of done, And cool. You're right. The GC, from our perspective, if we're going to, our primary objective is to communicate between people so they can collaborate and make decisions. Everything should be tied into that. Everything, because that's how we communicate with the trades. That's how the trades communicate to their craft. You know what I mean? It's like,
oh yeah,
we're really, it's one and the same of saying like, we need a schedule. We need a technology communication plan, what is the communication plan?
Rick, I need to work with you on every project. That'd be great. No, I think that that subcontractor GC relationship gets a bad rap sometimes because that mediation doesn't happen, right? I mean, we take that, what Jonathan calls the plan spec job, as the design rescue, right? It ends up like this, right? Everybody's fighting over, and what I tell my team members, I call it verbal judo. That's what you get to. It gets to the point where how do I use my verbal judo to protect what I'm doing? But it's refreshing to hear you talk that your space out there is pushing for that design assist, design build, that early approach, because that's what we've been talking about too. I think it's what everybody's looking for, and I don't know what's getting in the way of it, but it seems like you guys have kind of solved it a little bit. So it's refreshing to hear.
Yeah, I wouldn't say
one thing.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, we're trying to, right? I think that the biggest challenge though is who wants to be better, who really wants to push the industry to be better. And in order to be better, we have to be like-minded. In order to be like-minded, you got to have that upfront conversation, those partnering sessions very early on around, we want to do this because we know we can. Will you all get on board? Will you see the benefits of doing it differently, doing it better? Because it's going to make you more profitable and it's going to make the job more successful. And we're all going to walk away without verbally judoing each other, as they say, right? I mean, we want to be better.
Agree. And what's funny? Well, not funny. It's kind of interesting. It's like the nerd. I got to geek out about this. Imagine this kind of direction to industrialization and DFMA and all the new terms and trends that are out. It's really annoying. Every couple of years is a new popular word, innovation.
Digital twin.
Oh yeah, that's right. Everybody has a definition for it, but no one can be consistent on what it is.
Oh yeah. If you have IoT on your card at home, you have bingo.
Yeah. Hey, words are easy.
Bingo.
So let's talk about what happens if the GC is hiring expertise, the trades, right? And the GC is trying to do this DFMA industrialization. Who is really better set up for success there? Is it a GC or is the self-perform manufacturing trade partner? You know what I mean? So think through that. Think about like who's set up really good. What does the future look like? Maybe there's more, not necessarily acquisitions, but mergers with specialty trade contractors and GCs to deliver an industrialized product. You know what I mean? It's like that could be really nerdy and whole.
Well, you've
But,
hit
yeah.
on it. You've hit on it, Rick. And it's something I think I said this at one point and I thought I was going to get like speared off stage for saying it, but like the future, I think of our world, in construction is there will be acquisitions, right? Those things are going to happen and large GCs are going to do it. But as we've learned and specialized, I feel like there's these conglomerates that are going to come together, just like you guys are doing in your joint venture projects together, where it's a joint venture group because you all understand and probably have technology tool sets that integrate with one another, that work together really well, that facilitate the process, that change the overall experience for everyone in construction, right? Like, isn't that, we go back to this over and over. And, you know, if you listen back into later in shows when I'm on my high horse, that's what it's all about. It's about changing the experience. You know, we've made it swords drawn, we fight it out, we end a job, we moan, we exhale, we go, and then we go, okay, let's do it again. Like, why the fuck would anybody want to do that? Like, that's not what we want to do. We want to build conglomerates. And I think that's where it's going to go. I honestly think there'll be joint ventures across the spectrum that include suppliers, to a conversation, Trent, we were having recently about, you know, guaranteed delivery of supplies at the right time. Like, I think that's where we're headed, but to spin it, that takes leadership. And I want to peel back the onion a little bit, because like the Dorks were created because we all met really at a couple of really very well-known trade shows for trade contractors. I'm not going to call any of them out because I'm about to say, you know, I remember specifically, Jonathan, you tugging at my shoulder and saying, dude, now I get why you say what you say. I didn't realize it was like this. So I have a question. Like, that's what the Dorks were born out of, right? We would leave shows, go sit in the watering hole and go, can you believe what you were listening to? Can you believe what they were saying? Does that happen for GCs, Rick and Alex? And you don't have to out anybody on it, but do you guys have that like same experience going on, that you're like, am I the only one that gets this? Like,
Alex, you go first.
Alex, you get to go first. You're
Well,
the young buck.
Sure. Well, you know, it's been interesting, right? I mean, I've gone from small, medium to large contractor in my career. So I've been at 3 firms, and very intentionally at all 3, which have been all great experiences. You know, I can look at specific instances where like some people, the light bulb went off, you know, in a conversation, and like it was just this amazing feeling. And then sometimes, you're in these conversations where you're like the only one in the room that believes what you're saying, right? And everybody is the naysayer, they're throwing tomatoes. But you can look back at the process though, when it worked, or when people finally see it and you go, well, this is what we were trying to do 6 months ago or a year ago, and now we're doing it, and now everyone loves it. But man, that was a process to try to get people there, right? And again, it goes back to the human element of some people just don't trust something that they don't trust because they don't know about it. It's not part of their DNA. They haven't grown up in the industry with it. But I remember, you know, early on in my career, I mean, you know, I learned how to draft, you know, and I'm not that old, but I'm not that young. I'm somewhere in the middle. So, you know, I still remember, you know, T-squares and vellum, but now, you know, look at what we're doing. And so I have the range of experience now to be able to say, here's what it takes to get people to believe. It doesn't matter where you're at. I mean, I started my career in Cleveland, Ohio. I did work over in West Virginia where, you know, all this stuff was absolute foreign language, you know, and now I'm here. And the spectrum has been very wide in terms of who believed and who didn't believe. But the reality though is when people see what it can do for them, and when you put it in the context of, I want to help you be successful, I want you to make money, I want you to come out of this experience with a better experience than what you thought you were going to have, and believe in something you didn't believe in before. If you put it in that context, that's where things begin to shift the needle. Not just, I'm the big bad GC and I'm telling you, you got to do this, I'm going to flog you with it. It's not about that. And I'm not going to hold the BIM Act plan over your head. It's more about how can you be more successful. If you get on board with this process that you're going to help us write and create, we all can do this together and come out with a more positive outcome. And I'll prove it to you. So you got to start with that message. That's what I've learned throughout my span.
I love it. Loved everything about
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah. So Rick, I want to spin it to you on that, because listening into Alex, he covered quite a few of the things that we've seen you progress through over time, right? Like when I met you, you were putting the different, MR headsets on and, really still hands in. And then I specifically remember Travis, the AGCIT forum, when co-opetition came up, and Rick, you had already changed to a culture of yes and that you were trying to bring to Mortensen. And then after that, the next time we talk, which is a little bit longer, you're moved out of that and into an innovation culture. That's a very specific and thought out process. What was the genesis of that, and kind of how you went through it? And if I can ask, where's it going? You're muted.
Yeah.
You're still muted.
Sorry, my bad.
Hashtag you're muted.
Yeah, my kids were running upstairs. So it started in VDC when I started working for Mortensen back in 2005 and was on jobs for 3 or 4 years, kind of trying to understand what's going on. And I always thought BIM and VDC was innovation. I mean, I hated the term BIM and VDC, but that's what everybody called it. So, but I was like, this is innovation. What is innovation? It's about helping people improve their life. That's what innovation is. It's not technology. All right. It's about people. So now I was like, one superintendent at a time, man. That was my goal. 1 PM at a time. It was like, I'm going to prove to every single one of them. And I was learning a process on how to sell, how to build a business case, how to how to show value, to the people who, run the job. Because, we were just tools, when this all started, BDC, right? I was a hammer and they would show me the nail and I would pound the shit out of that, right? So, and then I moved to headquarters and I started leading VDC, and then started looking at massive company rollouts like BIM 360 for quality and safety back in 2013. We were the first GC to sign up at an enterprise level for that. And the business case we built was really design thinking oriented. So putting the human at the center. So instead of starting what do we need? Requirements, we need this, we started with, let's go ask the people what they need. What's busted? Ask the people in the field, in the dirt, man. What's wrong? What do you need better? Shit, I need a phone, or I need, we got all this input, and it allowed us to go back to headquarters and say, this is what the people are saying. Now let's use our expertise up here at headquarters to go and solve that problem. Right?
Right. Can I ask then too? Because early on I had the question about, I had a question in my mind about how do you deal with trade partners that aren't quite up to stuff, but it sounds like you don't. You've pretty much started to get to the point where you guys are just selecting trade partners that are, or at least on a certain level of technology. So Rick, to your question, and Alex, I'd be interested to see if McCarthy's doing the same. Have you started to ask those same questions of your more trusted partners? What can we do for you? I mean, have you started to filter outside of your own company then?
To our trades, are you saying?
Yeah, or anybody else that's in the project, because it's one thing to from our standpoint as a specialty trade, to just get really good at what we do, but you're managing the entire project. So I would imagine, and I would like to hear from both of you, what are you doing, because it is important for the whole project team, and you have a lot of tendrils into the rest of those members.
Alex?
Yeah, let me throw something out there. So I'm a big believer in getting real-time feedback, or at least getting feedback timely. And so we're doing what we're kind of calling the customer feedback tool, and really trying to get the design partner, the client, the trade partner feedback on a more regular basis, not just when the job is over with. So we have that information that rolls out from from our corporate and regional teams, and we get some really good data points, right? I mean, the part about, what sucks. I mean, we get some of that, which is really good. We get scored, we get rated. But I'm a big believer in doing what I call a plus delta after, major milestones, and really checking ourselves to see if what we sold each other, what we promised, the big speech at the beginning of the partnering effort actually came true. And it's good to see in those sessions what comes out, because we really preach being authentic and just letting it out there. If you got dirty laundry, don't be afraid to hang it out there. Obviously keeping everything in a very respectful way of delivering it, but It's amazing the feedback you get after the bus delta. People saying, thanks, I'm glad we did that. We really never had these conversations with other GCs. So it's really cool that you guys are willing to listen to us, and not just thinking that the process went perfectly and trying to do the same thing the exact same way on the next job. So until we hear things suck or they're broken, it's nice to know that the stuff is working, but we're continuously improving. There's no way that we don't take a look at all the feedback that we get. And you got to keep your eyes wide open, or head on a swivel, as my hockey coach always said growing up.
Nice.
Yeah. You're right. It's like focusing on those people, right? And what they need. But from a formal perspective, we send out pulse surveys to our trade partners and our designers, and it's like a one pager. What went well, what didn't go well. Like it's a plus delta, like Alex addressed. But it's like 10 questions. And how do you rate us? What can we do better? And then like if we get a negative score or something, a trade says something, the project manager, the project executive, it's their responsibility to do something. We didn't send, because that's how we kind of measure our customer experience. So that's one of our key KPI and team member experience. So when we send out surveys, if customer experience is one of our KPI, we need information and feedback from our design partners, our customer, obviously, and our trades, right? And I tell you, I think the type of caliber projects at Mortensen and McCarthy and Clark and a lot of other GCs that we joint venture with, the caliber, which the type of projects, we have so many opportunities to meet with specialty contractors and figure something new. You know what I mean? I can't, every project that we do, like a sports stadium, it's like a concept car, right? And we need trade partners who know what they're doing, man. So it's like, we can't do that shit ourselves.
Right.
So I would think that just between like us two, Alex and myself, our companies, man, there's a lot of impact that we make because of you. So we just need more and more of these opportunities. And I think the challenge is in our regulatory process.
Yeah.
It prevents us from doing a lot of the things that we really want to do, like having multiple shops in a space to prefab. It's like, come on, man, you're holding us up. We could improve the business. No, well, this trade has to be here and this, so I got to need it. You know what I mean? It's like, man, we can't get out our own way.
Right.
Or, yeah, like I said, that partnership that you talked about, not like, it's not bringing in a guy on a brand new project who is the low dollar all the time. I mean, there's got to be a better way. I mean, we fight that a lot, and because I think I'll speak for Travis and some of the other people who have a shop who's been a little more innovative in the MEP sphere. And, we do a really good job of pull planning what it takes for us to build the jobs that we design and draw, right? But what do we lack? We lack that general contractor to tell us when that needs to be delivered. And that's where that upfront communication comes in. We can plan our sphere, but we need to work with somebody that can plan the overall project. And that all has to work together. That's the big thing. And that's where the plan spec, the verbal judo, as I talk about all the time, trying to do away with that. But I mean, how do we get to a world where Rick Kahn lives, where these jobs aren't all to the cheapest mechanical, to the cheapest? Yeah, that's.
Well, I mean, you guys are winning different work and working on different projects, but there's something to this too. Cause I've had the cool progression to go through and work for a trade, then a consulting group. And now I'm in a software group that sells to GCs. So I spend a lot of time with GCs, and it's opened my eyes to the number of stakeholders. Like there's this up and down view between a GC and a trade and a trade and a GC, but there's a hell of a lot more players in that environment that you guys are dealing with and balancing. And how can we balance that better? How can we do that better? Because when you talk about, shop drawings and getting to, the final prefab or industrialization, that doesn't just take GCs and trades. It takes GCs, it takes trades, it takes suppliers, it takes owners, and it takes architects. and engineers and more to overcome all that. How are you guys? I mean, like Alex, how are you at McCarthy approaching that entire world and kind of getting everybody? I mean, that's a heck of a lot of, we're paying Nathan for this show now anyway. Whiffums, what's in it for me? Because, you know, you did a plus delta on me every time that happens.
Yeah.
I got to pay him some money.
Right.
So how do you handle the whiffums, Alex, of all of those stakeholders?
I mean, there's a lot of partnering sessions you got to have, right? I mean, you have to keep beating the drum of the why. I mean, I always quote my good friend at Autodesk, Chuck Meese, you know, begin with the end in mind. You have to keep repeating the why and keep making people understand why we're doing something. Otherwise, they're just going to revert back to the old way. And so you have to have kickoff meeting after kickoff meeting, right? I mean, every job has multiple ways that they do partnering sessions, kickoffs, pre-construction meetings, pre-installation meetings. It's all kind of the same thing. It's all about the message though. The message need to be focused on what are we trying to achieve here, right? We're not just trying to check the box and deliver this job the same way. You have all these different partners and different stakeholders. You have multiple plans on the job, the VDC plan, the quality plan, the site-specific technology plan, you got all these plans. Who's going to read all this stuff if you don't keep putting it in front of them and keep driving the why? So you have to keep going back to what's the value proposition? What is the why? Why should these people care that are at the end of supply chain? Well, because they're pretty critical at the end of the day to building this thing and getting it done on time. So you have to kind of almost pull plan those people forward and get them in as early as you can possibly get them in if you want to try and drive things like prefab and modularization and model-based layout and all the great things that we can do. But you got to keep repeating that why, keep having those partnering sessions and try to treat them differently, right? Try to not go through the motions. That's the biggest thing I always encourage my team to do is treat every meeting like it's the last meeting you're going to run as a VDC professional and do it with passion, because that's why we do what we do and why we love doing it is because we enjoy this stuff. It's to never get to the point where you're checking the box, spice it up, find ways to appeal to people's emotional side, because that's the only thing that's going to move the needle in this industry is to speak to people's heart, get them to believe in what you're saying.
Man, that
Rick,
that is well said, Rick.
Well said. Yeah, I agree. You brought it back to the people. Imagine if we started VDC back early on, all of us, right? If we started from the people first, like what are we doing to help those people who are coordinating the stuff with a light table, and you know what I mean? And we're not communicating it. If we started like, hey, if we could solve this problem from a people perspective, and VDC was one. Imagine if we kind of play that out. Imagine what it would have done to the industry if we started from that. And because you know what happened, they hired a bunch of nerds like me and Alex and threw us into the mix and said, all right, go ahead, figure it out. So we were looked at as aliens. We were like, who are these? Come and tell me what to do. I've been doing this shit for 30 years.
Dude, you're so right. I mean,
So
10 years ago, I jumped up on stage and was like, y'all don't know what it is you're doing. You got to do all these tools. And they were like, son, you do not know what you're doing. You're going to see what we do. Get out here and I'll show you. But
you know what makes your group different, Rick and Alex? They kept you in there. Not every GC does that. It's the new guy every time. It's a big difference.
And those people need to be part of the team. They can't be a tool or the IT support, right? They have to be running meetings. They have to be being held accountable and performing the same duties any field team member has to perform, whether it's safety audits or, you know what I mean? And I think that's what helped build our culture, right? Is it perfect? No, hell no. Every family's dysfunctional, yo. I mean,
Right.
It don't matter, but that's just life. And I think, we do what we can. And, it's when you convert one person, man, that's a great feeling,
That's when you go and pour a scotch. That's when you pour the scotch.
Yeah, you could have 500 people in a room, Rick. It only matters, right, Alex? Rick, one person walks out of that thing and goes, I'm going to do something different tomorrow. You pour that scotch and you get up tomorrow and you work your ass off again to get another one to do the same thing. And I've seen that really out of both of you in your careers. Like Alex, that's you teaching people to do meetings differently and to approach it differently. And Rick, it's been not just approaching Mortensen, but then culture and then innovation, and then being one of the first GCs to turn around and say, we're going to let you guys all in. We're going to open this whole thing up and show you what it is that we're doing and share it with you, because we want to lift up the industry. I mean, that had a lot to do with Mortensen's culture, but it also has a lot to do with you. So, specifically, why was that something? I mean, you've got a few of the followers of Rick here. We might be the dorks of Kahn later. Maybe we'll call it that.
I like it.
I like
But
that.
what-
That's great.
What's driven you to stay this long and to continue to do it this long?
I look at it as I help thousands and thousands of people. I've saved thousands and thousands of hours of people burning themselves out, screwing around with fucking Excel. Excel, let me just say something. Excel is the bane of my existence. It is
The entire
Cheers.
show, man.
Cheers.
We're with you 100%.
Thank you very much.
Yes, 100%.
every PM looking at this is like, fuck you, man. Right? Yeah.
Dude, that
Man,
is
but to this
awesome.
point,
What I was going to say is it had to do with helping people. And when we started like Navisworks back in 2004, it was interesting because in order to get any value out of it, guess what? We needed the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, pneumatic tubing contractors, all to be involved. And they were like, what the fuck is this? They were like, what? So what did we do? We built training programs for our trade partners in the Denver region. We did it in Seattle. We did it in Chicago. We did it. And we were telling these trades, you got to use this. And they were like, what? And back then, this is kind of inside secret, but back then, when Navisworks was Navisworks in Sheffield, England, we had like a $75 deal for any of our trades. So we were like, yo, you got to use Navisworks. We're like, we never heard of it. Well, give me $75. Have it, however many licenses, $75. Come on.
Yeah, you won't get away with that now.
No.
We held like training events in our local regions. I remember training like entire staff of trade partners back in 2005 and 6 on my first job, how to use Navis and why it's going to help. And there were some, don't get me wrong, there were some that were already down this path, right? I mean, there were some that are still ahead of us, especially like those custom metal specialty trades, and it's kind of moving in all directions now. But yeah, that's what it was, and it continued. And the reason why I'm in innovation now is because that's all about people. It's teaching a process. It's changing behavior. That's how you change a culture. You inspire them, you engage them in a different way, and you partner to drive innovation. That's what it's about. Like we partner with trade partners, like I love doing research projects and tying in like the layout crews from different trades. Like we did that on the Raiders job. We tested a layout robot called from Dusty Robotics, and
Right on.
got like all the trades that were doing wall layout and stub ups and shit like that on the concrete slab, and we had this robot painting holes and like wall layouts, and the trades were like, I need 2 of these, and you know what I mean, and like getting them excited. That was the objective. It wasn't to validate this robot. This robot is going to help us in the future. It's a beta. But it really helped drive inspiration. Guess what? I'm sure those trade contractors are talking to Dusty right now, because they want to now. Innovation is moving. Now things are going. That's how this all works, man. People.
So to bring it back to something Alex said, because Alex, when you said that content people or people not interested in improvement are sort of the bane of our existence. Like it works is the worst thing that I can possibly hear. I hear it all the time about Excel. It works. It's painful for you every day. You hate it, but it works, right? So just to be clear, what you guys' job is to breed discontent amongst people that are content. So that's how you're helping people, is to breed discontent. And Rick,
I'm okay with it.
I heard about you guys trying out Dusty Robotics because somebody was like reporting and they said, you know what? It wasn't the robot. It was the fact that everyone was interested in what the robot was doing that really turned her on about watching the situation and seeing what happened with you guys. And I think that that's a huge part of what we're doing as the Dorks too, is there's a bunch of negative stories. If you go to one of those trade shows, you're going to hear tons of negative stories about what's going on. So it's awesome to get you guys on from GCs to give us positive stories about technology. And I guarantee you all the trade people that are interested in technology right now are sitting there going, how can I work with Alex? And how can I work with Rick? And what do I have to do? And do I have to cut my price? You know, I mean,
that's what I'm wondering.
The reality is you guys are going to make us money, right? I mean, that's what your focus is solutions that actually work in the long run. So I did, Alex, I got to say, I wrote that down immediately and was like, okay, so that's our job. We're going to breed discontent, as much as discontent as we can, to try to break down those people that just say, yeah, it works.
You know what's messed up? I'm sorry. What's really messed up about this whole situation is the people have the power, right? The people in the field, we rely on them. They don't rely on us. I mean, yeah, we give them a paycheck, but we need them. So
more than you realize.
If those people stood up and said, we need a sophisticated way of communication. We don't get the latest information when we need it. You know, when we having those conversations right in the beginning, we then know like innovation is critical. I got a little guess. You know what I mean? It's So anyways,
Alex, you had a comment there too.
Alex.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, what I was thinking about was, you know, the quote that I love from one of my favorite inspirational people, The Rock, is he's always never settle. I like to look at it as never settle. For people that just want to keep doing it the same way, like, why should we settle on that? Like, what is the reason to just always do it that way? Well, because it's worked. Okay, well, what if we have another opportunity to do something better? Why should we settle? Never settle. We should be continuously pushing ourselves to be better. Why? Because we love this industry. Because it's fun. It's risky as hell, and we keep doing it every day because it's fun, and we love the challenge of it, right? No one in either of our companies is content with just being here and punching the clock. I'll guarantee it. From everybody from the top down, we love being here. We love the culture that both of our companies have. They're very similar in a lot of ways, but we don't have a lot of people that will settle. We have a lot of people that want to do things that are challenging, that are risky, but we enjoy this industry. We love it. So if we love this industry, and we didn't wish that we were doing something else every day, and why should we be settled on being complacent? We should be settling on continuously disrupting and trying to do it better so that we're making our lives better and making our partners' lives easier. I mean, that's to Rick's point about innovation. That's why I've always appreciated his perspective is it's about our lives and it's about what we're doing as humans. That's the passion behind the innovation we should be searching for.
That's the culture the two of you built there. You know, I mean, that is 100% credit to both of you, right? Everyone who's doing that at your company, that doesn't just happen. People don't just show up to a company with that attitude.
No,
I mean, that's awesome.
So we've been talking people. I'm tired of it. This is a tech show.
All right.
What are you guys geeking out about right now? Tell me what, you know, because as I talked earlier, I mean, you guys are massive companies compared to a lot of ours. You've got whole innovation teams. What's the cool shit right now?
Yeah.
Alex, you got anything for us? You got anything you guys are touching on that you can talk about?
Well, I think what's cool for us right now is, you know, we have a lot of different groups in McCarthy that are exchanging ideas, right? And what I would say right now is between like VDC and innovation and project delivery and, you know, design integrators, we have a lot of cool folks coming together with great ideas to kind of push things at the forefront. I mean, obviously, you guys know there's a lot of great tech out there. The big two things that I'm seeing that I'm loving the most is the ability to do what I call model-based field layout and truly doing what I call BIM to field and back, which is you got to get BIM into the field, but then you got to get it back into the office, right? There needs to be a process to proving that what we're doing out there is actually working, and then being able to say, yeah, it worked, and it's actually driving a lot of value. So I call it model-based field layout, and truly trying to take BIM to the robotic layout environment using some of these new things like Dusty Robotics. I know we we obviously are very interested in that from that project at Raiders. But that evolution of model-based field layout, and there's some great stuff out there. Augmented reality is making a big shift, specifically for like GPS-based augmented reality, which we've been waiting for industry for a long freaking time. And Trimble seems like they got it figured out right now with their sight vision device. So that's one thing that my team has been looking at quite a bit and trying to take them to the field and back. So that one, and then obviously, this whole idea of 2D and 3D collaboration, truly having this integration hub to bring the 2D and 3D worlds together. There's a lot of programs out there that are trying to do that, but our partners at Revista are doing some great things. There's a lot of other ones out there. But at the end of the day, though, being able to get more people into a common data environment and exchange ideas in real time, but then actually go and push it out to the field, the men and women building stuff. The one phrase I heard at one point early on in my career was, if you don't get it to the point of attack, it don't mean shit. And that's still true. If you don't get it out there, that's why I was passionate about running coordination out on the job site, teaching Navisworks out in the trailer. Because if you don't get it to the point of attack, it doesn't mean anything. So that model-based layout and BIM to field and back and that 2D, 3D collaboration is really the stuff that I think is moving the needle right now in the industry.
Awesome.
Well,
That's super cool, Alex.
that was cool. Yeah, no, Rick, now you, man. I mean, what's geeking you out right now? Travis, I like that you brought us back to it.
Automation from a digital data side and robotics. It just seems like we have like 12 robotic proof of concepts or prototypes in the works right now. A lot in our energy business, repeatable businesses repeatable work like wind and solar and high voltage and substations. It lends well to automation. So we've been, partnered with like companies all over the world, it seems like, developing prototype robots and or building upon what's existing. Like a good example is like the construction robotics team. We're building a custom mule-like tool. Their mule lift for masonry. We're building a similar tool for objects weighing about 400 pounds. So, and it's one of those scenarios where you got to take something and move it around, and it's being done by hand in most cases. And there's a lot of injuries. There's a lot of waste in the process, and the automation is going to completely eliminate the safety concern, as well as allow us to meet our productivity. We're starting at the largest solar project in the world, and we have hundreds of thousands of these things we have to install. And it's kind of crazy. Built Robotics, we've been working with them for the last 4 years. The reason why is because we couldn't get skilled operators out in really rural areas. So, that research project led to autonomy. How might we leverage some autonomous vehicles? And we started with an excavator, and now we're rolling out excavator, dozer, and compactor, all working in unison to dig a round hole for wind turbine. So
that's cool.
Awesome.
And we're hiring, and just to show how we're not like trying to replace. We can't get 3 operators to go on one turbine, and we got like 100 turbines, right?
Right.
To build, right? So imagine the amount to keeping up with productivity. Excavation and foundations were a major obstacle, right, in the critical path. So what if we can robotize, run autonomous vehicles? So we've been doing that now, and we hire them as trade partners. And they come on our job, they roll out their machines, they're using the job site as a live petri dish to teach the algorithm of these machines how to work. Now, this is low dexterity work. This is not high dexterity work, like, digging, cutting holes in a wall or whatever. This is like, large foundation.
Freeing a ship from the Suez. Yeah.
And we're also, we're heavily involved in industrialized construction and automation. And I can't really talk about that cool stuff, but we like building factory spaces and automation, and it's pretty amazing what the company is doing for the future. And that's the 5 to 10 year time horizon, right? It's like the company's working on will bear fruit and differentiate us in 10, 15 years. And that's what I love, going back to Jeff's question, it's like, that's what, it just keeps on kind of growing, and that 5 to 10 year horizon continues. So it's just like back in 2011 when we started the VR stuff with the Oculus developer kit, and in a couple of years we have a full business that supports our customers with VR, and it's like it just keeps on, right? That's what keeps me going. It's exciting.
Did you keep your developer kit?
That mule, by the way, I from Construction Robotics, that was the first one that ever made me think, okay, we're on to something here. This is true augmentation that works beautifully, but simplistically. Like, I always love to throw Atlas up and be like, you see this? Yeah, we're not building that. That's really not going to help us. That's just for movies and shit like that. But this mule that just looks like, I mean, you really can't discern it from any other piece of equipment on a job site, except for the fact that they've got the big mule written on it.
Yeah.
And you see someone using it and it feels natural. It looks natural, right?
Yeah. Even looking at Hilti with their JBot,
Yeah.
the idea there is not to reduce or steal money from the trade partners, is to help alleviate congestion and flow. The reality is, if 5 trades need to occupy the same space and all 5 trades have overhead, how are you going to really manage you guys know, I don't have to tell you, you know how it works.
That's why we fabricate. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now with the GC side is like, how might we help you? So what if we are able to use a JBot to run the 5 trades in the same space, and we provide it? We provide the robot to you. You know what I mean? Because we're trying.
Is that going to be a deduct? Or do we have?
Those are the big picture topics, right? Like, imagine if we could. What if? How might we?
I love it. I love the thought process for sure. It only benefits me because I'm one of the trade partners that can do it. So it eliminates competition. I mean, yeah, I'll give money back because guess what? 80% of my competition is now out of the question. Okay, cool. See you guys. Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Well, in the end, it's a predictable amount of money too. I mean, I think we're having fun talking about it, but it's something, again, Spears on stage when you say, everybody's in this business to make money, right? Like,
well, you have to. Right?
I mean, well, but dude, that for some reason that like his hair stands up. It's like, no, like everybody's in this chain. If we weren't here to make money, then what the hell are you doing here? I mean, it's a high risk business. It's stressful. It's, there's a lot to it. Alex, you mentioned it a couple of times. So if you're not here to make money, then what the hell are you here to do? And everybody should be here to make a fair shake. And actually, the more we work together, the more we actually all make together.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we forget how much we leave. Go ahead, Rick.
Love the comment, Rick. Yes.
Yeah. You completely, that's the problem. The problem is money. That's why we still kill people in this fucking industry. This is why people still get hurt. It's because it's money, man.
Yep.
Come on, man. It's so fucking simple, really. I'm sorry, but this is a hot point. I keep talking about people, man. Who do you think builds these buildings? It's not robots. You know what I mean? It's like, crazy. Why is safety the only thing benchmarked in this industry?
Yep.
It's disgusting, man. Don't get me started on that.
Well, no, Rick, but I mean, I don't want to take us down a rabbit hole for too long, but I mean, I had somebody come up to me and kind of give me shit for talking about it. And my answer to them was, when we don't kill one fucking person on a job site in an entire year in this country, then you can tell me to shut up. Until then, until people aren't leaving our jobs with preventable injuries, right, we can stop it. We are all smart enough to stop this shit.
Sure.
So let's do it.
That's the DFMA argument, man.
Yeah.
Let's bring it to a predictable, more, like we're bringing what percentage of work we're bringing into a controlled environment where the schedule is predictable, where we've reduced trade stacking, right? All this stuff. Yeah. Like Rick, like you said, that's the whole, you want to get rid of the casualties. There you go. I mean, come on. It's easy.
Alex,
Quit picking the cheapest partner. Pick the partner that's going to be the most efficient. Come on.
But that's also got to be led. I feel like, and don't take this the wrong way, I feel like you guys have to lead that as the GC. Rick, you picked two robots that were perfect, Dusty Robotics and then the Hilti one. I can't use those because I can't clear a deck to allow enough cleanness to run either of those pieces of equipment, but you guys can. And if you guys say, I'll clear the deck so I can run that equipment, I will probably say what Trent said, and it's like, how much money, but
Yeah. Well,
but
no, it's
right
the
after that, literally I'll be like, okay, so what's my trade-off? And my trade-off is I can get to the other things. I can spend more time on the areas where I want to make money. This just becomes another area where we're doing it the most efficient way. It's working off of my VDC. But I really feel like you and Alex need to double down on leadership there, because again, the Dusty Robotics doesn't work if the floor's covered in rebar and junk. I can't
That's the
get one of those to
partnership.
work.
That's the partnership.
Hilti's machine can't work if you guys are not willing to. I remember arguing for 2 days on the deck to lay out with Trimble and having to rent a second Trimble and run a second team to get my points in time, because they're like, nah, you got 8 hours, And so if you guys are out there saying, no, we're clearing the decks, we're making it ready for you, you guys are going to empower all of us in the trades. I can't tell you how psyched I am,
because we'll pull plan it, right,
that
John?
are helping. Yeah,
We'll pull plan it.
So
Rick and they'll pull plan it. That's the partnership. You give me that clear space, I will meet your schedule. That's the partnership for sure.
Yeah.
See, I was going to ask, so I'm going to jump in and ask 2 questions from our guests out here, because Joshua Ward said, why does the GC have to clean up trades mess? The deck should already be cleared.
That's a valid point.
But I want Alex, I want your take on it, because you said keep it clean, keep it safe.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes the culture, right? I mean, we all call our safety programs different things, but the reality is we know that a clean job site is going to be a way more safer job site, right? Obviously, the human element is still what we have to watch out for, but take one thing off the minds of everybody else. Am I going to trip over something stupid today that's going to put me in the hospital or send me, to the urgent care? I mean, keep it out of people's minds. They got enough stuff to think about, right? You got cranes flying around, you got material hoists, you got all kinds of stuff on the job site that is trying to kill you every single day. You don't need another thing to think about.
Is there something to modern delivery methods and coordination and getting things together that keeps stuff off the floor? So is there a way that we do that better, more efficient? Is there a way that you approach that so that doesn't happen?
Absolutely. We implement 5S programs, which is about keeping it safe, keeping it clean. That's just like BIM and VDC is a requirement for our trades. That is a requirement, and what that allows us to do is put, appropriations in from the trade partners to make sure things are clean. And then we implement flow scheduling and trade resource allocation. I know both Mortensen and McCarthy do this because we did it on Raiders, and so I know we're doing it similarly. That 5S program, it addresses everything in terms of like, how do you deal with garbage, the sweeping process, who does it? I mean, you got to think about our responsibility. I mean, to go back to that question, the GC is there to drive the critical path, right? And we hire these trades to implement so we can maintain that. From my perspective, from the GC perspective, if we can actually help ensure that places are clean through our 5S program, and actually putting people from our crews to help ensure that things are in the right place, we're going to maintain our schedule. How do you think we build these massive projects on time, man? It don't happen by letting people do what the fuck they want. No. If one of the greatest superintendents that I know, Dave Mansell, he told me this. He's like, Rick, you come here with your great ideas. I love you, man, but construction is a dictatorship. It's not a democracy. All right. And I was just like, but I understood what he was coming from, right? Collaboration happens in between the steps, but each step has to be met. Same thing with you guys. You guys know it. You have your own schedule you got to meet, right?
Yep.
So anyway, sorry.
No, that's good.
It's a great point.
That's great. All right. So We're getting near that hour. And I want to give you guys each an opportunity to say something on the way out, because you've both been really inspirational to us and to the people listening. So Alex, I'm going to let you take it away and just give some of your final thoughts, and, just what you're meandering on right now, and something to leave as I'll give one to the Go Conab Guru, leave a nugget for the crew.
Leave a nugget for the crew. Well, again, it's been a pleasure being on here with Rick. I mean, we do a lot of great things at our companies, and there's a lot of great collaboration that happens. And I know that him and I have to probably start talking more and doing more of this, because this is what the industry needs. It needs more like-minded people to come together earlier to drive the conversation around best-in-class project delivery, right? And at the end of the day, we can innovate a lot of things together. We can innovate a lot of things independently, but the best ideas are going to be, really thinking about the end in mind from the start, and really thinking about other people ahead of ourselves. So, again, kind of talking about, what is the GC's responsibility? I believe the future GC's responsibility is to drive more of the conversation earlier, the collaboration, the idea behind driving the project the best that we can, and not flogging people with our requirements and how we believe it should be done, polling the audience and really bringing people together. I mean, the human psychology of our industry is amazing. It's going to take more of that. It just is. It's 2021. We're doing as much as we can, but we know we can be doing more. So we got to get more like-minded people together earlier. The nugget that I'll leave everyone with is be a good human, and think about doing things differently, because innovation should be about the human element. So I'll leave it with the quote from Rick. So Rick, go ahead.
Yeah, it should be. Rick, you're up.
I want to second what Alex said too, man. Keep it on the people. But when you think about what's next, right? Let's geek out for another second here. How do we capture data today? It's manual, with paper and pen. It's, we have digital paper, tablets, but it's still the same process. How might we completely rethink that? I think it's really important for us to start thinking about how might we automate data capture on a job site. And I know this is a big topic. Augmented reality is tied into that. But the reality is, if we can just focus a little bit on this concept of sensors and on people. I know we got unions, HR, and legal and risk that are all saying, oh, if you capture information and you don't do anything about it, we're liable. All right. Do you guys get what I'm saying? If we can put sensors on people, if we can better understand the ergonomics of a human being during the day, we can better predict. We are stuck in a lagging indicator industry. We need to get to predictive. We don't have time to go to leading indicators. We don't have the time. We're killing people. We're hurting people. We have to move. We have to leapfrog. I think people like Alex and all the young folks coming into our industry, that's going to change in 2 generations. It's going to change. The industry is changing, and we have to wait till the existing leadership moves out and the young bucks take control. To be perfectly honest, because the industry needs a radical change. It needs a radical change, and that's only going to happen through people. So that's my little soapbox about IoT and how do we automate data capture. But it's about people,
Well, yeah. You nailed it. I mean, and you talk about the future, and you said this to all the panelists here, but I'm gonna say it for you. Maybe it's so that because nobody's behind me on this show, so I can say it. But we need to make construction sexy. We need to recruit from junior high on up to high school. We need to bring back the trades to our school systems so that we can have a workforce that sees this path as profitable, as secure, as sexy, as a real technology job. I mean, it is the modern workforce in construction is outfitted with some of the best technology that you're not going to get anywhere else. And we fail to sell that. We fail to sell that to parents. We fail to sell that to kids. We fail to sell the craft. And we have to, as an industry, do better, or we might not have those young bucks, Rick.
Yeah.
And ladies, men, everyone, we need you all in this industry. We need the thought leaders that think differently, that want to come here and make
talent.
a damn difference.
Talent. Let's go. Yeah.
And it is literally people like you, Rick, and like you, Alex, that kept people like me in this industry. I came from many other places, And I am finally in a industry that I'm not leaving. I've been here for a decade now, and I absolutely love it. And if you had asked me 20 years ago if I would ever end up in construction, I would have told you no. And now there's no place I'd rather be. And that's thanks to GC. It's thanks to people like you, Rick, people like you, Alex, you, Jonathan, Trent, Josh Bone, Travis, all of these incredible people. So give back. We thank you for joining us today. I think it's episode 23 for Generally Dorks. And generally, I don't prep very much, but I am super excited to have you guys.
Yeah.
We're taking you up. So go get vaccinated, everybody, because we're going to be out on a stage near you someday, having this conversation live and bringing it to a theater near you. Thanks to everybody for joining us.
Let's go.
This has been episode 23, Generally a Dork.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Alex. Really. Thank you.
guys.
And Travis says goodbye. He had to jump out early.
I'll play while we wait.
All right.
Right.
How's that? Anyways, how's that? Does that sound okay?
Dude, that was
Good.
awesome, Rick.
That was awesome.
It sounded very Santana-ish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to. I'm still learning it. It's a long song. A minute to go.
Yeah.
We can go on without Jonathan, not without Alex.
Right.
Yeah, but Alex is the
some on it.
one. Yeah. We gotta work out like our standard times a lot better.
Mm.
I think we do a bad job at that.
I apologize, guys.
It's okay, man. We're still waiting on the other guest.
Yeah.
Dude, I was sitting doing going through Tahira has put out Pillars of Innovation for Nika, and something in my head is not working. Rick, I've never met you, man. It's nice to finally meet you.
You too. Yeah. It seems like it's amazing how many people we've met virtually. Over the
Oh
month.
yeah,
It's crazy.
it is. It's made it seem like a much smaller world, which is good. Which is very, very good.
I think it's good that our world's gotten bigger though. So that's kind of one of those where even, names out there like Rick and all, like, it's good that we haven't met everyone, I think. So yeah.
Yeah. It just shows the industry is growing, right?
Right.
Right.
By leaps and bounds, man. By leaps and bounds.
But Rick, when I hit you on LinkedIn, you're like, dude, I've known you for a decade. And I was like, oh, does that make me an OG too now? Like, are we
OG,
old school?
right,
Like, I
you're
want to
old
be
school.
new school, Rick. I don't know. I don't know if I'm okay with it.
But yeah, it's been
We
fun.
might be going live with just Rick.
Oh yeah.
And he told me he couldn't do tomorrow. And he's like, tomorrow or something now?
Yeah, preferably right now.
Right now,
Would be the-
this
yeah.
very moment.
No.
Do you play, Rick?
You missed
Yeah.
it.
You missed it, dude.
Oh,
He was-
seriously?
I was playing a little lick.
Did you change the notes just enough that we could use it as our opening without getting hit with like copyright infringement?
Yeah, it sounds. Yeah, the Carlos Santana version sounds very different.
It's
All
funny,
right.
Rick, because we're looking for a good like chord, like the Wayne's World thing. We're looking for like a DorkCast, DorkCast. Excellent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's done. We're gonna remix that.
There you got it.
we got to do it. I think.
DorkCast. It's excellent.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do it.
We are not sponsored. We don't have corporate sponsorship, so we don't care what the fuck you say. It is an explicit show, so you can fucking say anything you want. Travis loves to put that in at the
I
beginning
like to
of
cut
every
those
show.
out.
I think did I miss anything, gentlemen?
The only thing I
Use that
could think
term.
of is we need to do a solo show with Rick and just call it The Wrath of Khan. Couldn't we do that? Like, come on.
Yeah, I'll play a couple of B. I'll have an opening.
Dude,
That's all I got.
Perfect. That's perfect.
That's all I got.
It's like-
Dude, that's your spinoff. It's Trent and Rick, the Wrath of
The
God.
Wrath of Khan, baby.